Hi, and welcome to Behind the Bell ATL with the Salvation Army of Metro Atlanta. I'm your host, Keely McGill. The goal of this podcast is to provide listeners with a glimpse of what the Salvation Army does. Many people tell us that they know we provide support to those in the community who need it, but they don't know exactly what we do. We hope to change that through our conversations with Army staff, clients, and community partners. Thanks for joining us. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Behind the Bell. Today, our guest is Mike Coates.
Hi, everybody.
Well, Mike, to get started, can you give us a little introduction of who you are, what you do here at the Salvation Army?
My name's Mike Coates. I'm the Development Director for the Metro Atlanta Area Command of the Salvation Army. I've been in my role for going on 4 years. Previous to that, I was a major gift manager on the fundraising team, and I've been in development overall for 24 years now.
Whoa, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So, you've been here a long time, so I feel like you're the best person to have this conversation with. Talking about Red Kettles, that's the topic for today. Can you give me a little bit of history behind the Red Kettles?
Salvation Army Red Kettle started in 1891 when a Captain Joseph McPhee in the San Francisco area had to fund a big community dinner for those that were economically challenged, and he didn't know where he was going to get the money from. And he was a former English fisherman, and he remembered these big Simpson pots, they were called, that they would cook community meals in. And he decided to get a big lobster pot because he was in San Francisco, and he put out one on the wharfs in San Francisco to collect money, not from the wealthy, but from the people who were working class, to help feed other folks that were less fortunate. And it caught on from there. I'd like to point out that the Atlanta Salvation Army predates the Red Kettles by 1 year. We've been in Atlanta since 1890, so both longstanding traditions. But the Red Kettle moved east, and everywhere it went, it was a hit with people because they could apply their care for others through the generosity that they were giving and the programs that were implemented by the Salvation Army. They could see where their money was doing the most good.
Oh, I love hearing the history behind it. It's not like the first time I hear it, but becoming an employee, knowing iconically, the Red Kettles, the holiday season, that is typical Salvation Army, but knowing the history behind it and knowing about where those funds go as an employee, but even as an individual in the community, we're so transparent about where these funds go. Can you talk about some of the services that these Red Kettle funds directly correlate to?
Well, I mean, it would be an understatement to say how impactful the donations of the generous people are. We fund youth services. We fund homelessness initiatives. We fund feeding initiatives for those with food insecurities. There are caseworkers and after-school programs. We have a wide variety of things, all of which get funded by the collections at Christmas time.
And I love hearing that this simple campaign that has been iconic for years goes to touch all of those different areas. Can you talk about who's behind the kettle? Who's the one ringing the bell that we see every holiday season?
Well, we've got a longstanding history of volunteers coming forth and applying their time and their desire to help others through their actions. That's the longstanding tradition. But because of today's economy, in many ways, we've had to hire people as well. A lot of people don't know that. We have to hire kettle workers, which, of course, when we're paying a salary for someone to stand there, it takes away from the overall impact because we've got to pay people to man it. So the more volunteers we get, the better off the Red Kettles will be. So, I would ask people to please consider volunteering because it makes the money more impactful that's donated.
Yeah, and a little birdie did tell me that you actually volunteer with your kids, right?
I do, many years in a row.
Yeah? Do your kids really enjoy doing it?
They do. It's a tradition for us now. We put on Santa hats and, we put a little bowl of mints or candy out, and they're great at greeting people. They're all scouts, so they've got a history themselves of having to sell popcorn or whatever it is for scout fees. So we applied that to what we do with Red Kettles, and that combined with my Kiwanis group. One year we stood out in front of a Walmart, and that was the single best day the Metro Atlanta Area Command had in one location, was with my Kiwanis group and my kids, and they were really proud about it, as were the the Kiwanis guys and gals too. It was fun.
Okay, I see you showing out your experience with it. But I love hearing, like, in your story, it's not just, a one individual kind of thing. It's you can be a whole family, make it a day like of family giving back to your time, but also a group can be involved. It's not one single siloed group of people who are looking for it. It could be a wide range of individuals.
That's correct. I think it's an important thing to consider if a business is looking for, a community activism thing that they can get involved in to help them get some camaraderie within themselves, let alone the impact it has on the less fortunate. It's a wonderful thing to consider. It's a pre-wrap deal. We know how to implement our volunteers. We know where we need them. All people have to do is sign up and show up and get their Christmas festivities started with helping others through this volunteering effort.
Yeah, and continue the tradition. Speaking of the Salvation Army, I think I've said this multiple times. We like to evolve and change with the needs that are around us. And, the Kettle over the couple of years has made some adjustments to kind of better suit our environment and our community. Can you talk about how they've done that?
The obvious thing being COVID impacting where people went, the availability to go places. I mean, things shut down for a while, and we had to be nimble in how we responded to that. People were not going out to shop. That trend's continued as the rise of places like Amazon and Walmart online and all of these big opportunities for people to not leave their house but still get their goods and services. We've had to think about those things. So the natural evolution was to come up with a digital solution, which we call the virtual Red Kettle, which still needs to be manned in a way by a volunteer. Somebody would sign up, like I do every year, to host a Red Kettle, and then I push it out digitally. I promote it on my Facebook, my Instagram, and I ask people to give to the Salvation Army. And now I know a lot of people have a hesitation about asking for money, and that's where the virtual Red Kettle really is an advantage, because what people can simply do once they host one is say, hey, I believe in the work of the Salvation Army, and here's your opportunity to help me with my belief and funding these programs that help people. It's not a hard ask. It's not a hard thing to do. It's all digital, and all you have to do is put your emphasis behind it. I believe in this thing.
Well, it goes back to that connection to the Salvation Army mission. I've spoken to many people, and at the root of it, almost all of us believe in the mission that we're doing here. And if you believe in what the Salvation Army is doing, it's a great way for you to give back without, standing on the corner. As much as we love having those volunteers out there, sometimes doing it from the comfort behind your phone screen is a little bit better. And I'm that generation. I don't carry cash anymore.
Correct.
And I'm so used to Venmoing my friends for this and Venmoing like back and forth. And it's so simple for me to create a virtual Red Kettle and be like, instead of a gift for me, give a gift back to Metro Atlanta. And it's something that can reach my generation and continue this on for future generations so that we can still remain the iconic Red Kettle season, That's
correct. I think that what has transpired is for us to place the emphasis on our responsibility to give back the feedback and the impact to the people that are doing Red Kettles. When you're standing out and it's chilly, but you're catching smiles from the people that are going into your Kroger or your Walmart and they're dropping $1 or $5 bill in or change, and your kids are having fun and you're celebrating the Christmas season, that has its own feedback for the people. But when you're hosting a virtual Red Kettle, it's really upon us to first of all, express our thanks to the volunteers and the people that host a virtual Red Kettle, but also afterwards, give them the feedback of how impactful what they did was. It can't be an anonymous digital thing in the web. It has to be one person always asking another person to be generous because people give to people, and that's where the digital Red Kettle takes on a life of its own if we make sure we keep the humanity in it.
Yeah, and the give to people is such a, I love that you said that, because it's also, we're giving services, we're giving hope, we're giving different things to our community that it might not necessarily be monetary, but sometimes that monetary goes directly to support those services that we're providing.
That's correct.
Can you talk about how impactful a good Red Kettle season can really be for Metro Atlanta and what it can impact for the future for us?
It's a tremendous percentage of what we take in terms of donations. each year. And because it goes to general operations, which is a large pot of operating money, where we can apply those funds to where it's needed most. If the food pantries need to get more food, we apply the funds there. If our shelter or the housing programs that we have for those that are that come to us to get off the streets, we can apply the funds there. So it allows us to be nimble in how we shift things around, all of which are impactful to the people that have the particular needs. Food insecurity is no less of a concern to somebody than being homeless. Having a safe and secure and productive and educational after-school program is every bit of a priority to some families as where's my next meal coming from. So we have to respond nimbly and thoroughly and caringly to the people that come to us with their concerns. And we've been doing it for over 135 years here in Atlanta, and we've gotten quite good at it. So
yeah, but even talking about our longstanding history being in Atlanta, that's made us grow. So we have multiple cores across Atlanta,
right.
And so I'm sure having each of those cores and having a kettle, whether it's locally in their area and they have a bell ringer, but also a virtual Red Kettle to help support them in their services. It's very important that we continue this tradition on both avenues so that each of those areas can receive their support and we can keep growing because our city is growing.
That's correct. To be clear, each core or facility or entity within the Metro Atlanta Salvation Army that runs the Red Kettle program and has volunteers, those funds are directed to
those areas.
That's correct. So even though I talked about a general pot, we do keep track of who has raised what and where that total amount is allocated.
Oh, I love that. So like if Fayette's close to where me and you are, so if I'm a bell ringer down in Fayette, I know that those funds are going to go directly towards our Jonesboro Temple, right?
That's correct.
Oh, that's good, because then it's going back to keeping you connected in your community, but still helping the overarching Salvation Army.
Sure, and we have to be clear about things like that. I live on the south side, like you just said, with you, Noonan, go Noonan. But people want to know, even though we're part of the general Atlanta metro area, people like being Southsiders. People like being on the north side or in Gwinnett or in Douglasville, or Stone Mountain. That's their local community, and making sure that they know that those funds stay where they are is important to them, and that's what we do.
Yeah, there's some pride in your own community, but it goes to the overarching community that is Metro Atlanta. Can you talk a little bit about, what you think inspires volunteers to go out and ring the bell for us each year?
This goes back to my longtime work as a consultant in development. Some people, and I did a lot of work with churches, and some people let their money be their participation. And for some folks, not only is that not good enough, but sometimes they feel that what they can give is not as high of a level as getting involved and giving their time. And that is something that means a lot to me when people, put their money where their mouth is, or actually do the service instead of just paying the fee, if that makes sense. I love it when people spend time to make a difference. It's one thing to pay for the difference or contribute towards the difference, which I certainly want people to consider, donations this Christmas season. But when people spend time to help others, what they get back is exponential in the amount of effort and time that they've spent. Knowing that what you've done is a good deed that gets paid forward is a common phrase that people use. But it's true. When you pay it forward and you put the time in to help other people, it comes back to you. And even if that's just in the satisfaction of knowing that you did the right thing for somebody in need.
Yeah. I like to say that time is almost as valuable as money. And sometimes just a 2-hour day ringing a bell in your local community can make such a big impact that you might not ever see. You might not ever see the family who needs it, but there's people around you that need help. And knowing that you're willing to give up a couple hours of your day to impact your community with no reward given back in a weird way, there's something that makes that feel good, right? And it goes back to us always wanting to do good for our community.
That's correct. One of the things that I love to present to people is the concept that the generosity is the tradition. You know, we've got programs and services that span decades and generations in the Salvation Army. Like I said, we've been in Atlanta since 1890. But none of that would still be here today if people didn't give towards it. So the generosity of our donors, that's the tradition, that people care about others, that people see other people in need, and it affects them emotionally and spiritually to the point where they want to act on it. So the giving is the tradition, and I want that to move forward with a new digital way of doing things, that people are still having the same impact, but just in a different manner.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, your personal connection and what you believe, do you have like a personal story or like memory that you want to share about bell ringing or even red kettles in general?
You know, I mean, seeing my kids caper about as people go in and out of stores, and having them look people in the eye and ask them to contribute is certainly a moving thing as a parent. But I had something happen this past Christmas season in rapid succession, in where I spoke with a family, the father of a family that mans a Red Kettle down in Noonan, and we were shooting the breeze outside of my local Kroger. And one of the things he said to me was that, hey, it's funny when people don't want to donate or they can't, they don't make eye contact with us. You know, they kind of scoot in the side door, and even though we're greeting them and wishing them Merry Christmas no matter what, people don't want to make eye contact with us for whatever reason. And not 2 days later after that, I was in our Red Shield Services shelter in Atlanta, and I was speaking to one of our clients, and he told me that the hardest thing about being homeless when he was on the streets was that people didn't want to make eye contact with him. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to even acknowledge his presence, his being, his humanity. And those two things together were told to me within a span of days where that's not a coincidence. That is a connected thing. And what the Salvation Army does is we see those people. We not only help them, but we acknowledge their humanity. We acknowledge their not only their need to be helped, but their right to be helped as a person that's asking for help. And that's one of the proudest things I have in my heart about the Salvation Army, is we treat people without discrimination in the way they present themselves to us, and we will help them if it's possible for us to help them. If we have the resources and we have the programs, they will get the help from us.
Yeah, it's crazy to hear back to back, the two parallels between the same of, the bell ringing. And I will say that I'm one of those people who, before I worked for the Salvation Army, now I always keep money in my pocket when I go into Kroger.
All right.
Because I feel like I can't work for the organization and not donate, and because I believe in this organization and I believe what we do, and there's an importance to it. But before then, I was that person where I knocked my head down, but hearing the impact that it has on our bell ringers, but also to hear the impact that can do to an individual just in our community who is in the cycle of homelessness. It's crazy to hear how just eye contact can really impact a person and how they're feeling and what they're doing in their day. It's crazy.
Amen.
Well, I think we've talked about so much about Red Kettles, but is there anything else you want to really share with our listeners about, Red Kettles in general, or your importance, or ways that they can get involved?
Well, certainly all of this that we talked about doesn't mean anything if we don't tell people how to go ahead and do a Red Kettle or ring bells. We've got a wonderful volunteer coordinator, Danielle Ritchie at the Metro Atlanta Salvation Army, who can get your corporate group or your civic group like Kiwanis or Rotary involved in a bell ringing project. It'll be local to where you are. There's not a lot of heavy lifting. We'll get all of the materials to you and catch you up to speed on what to do, how to do it, and how to schedule it. We just need able and willing people to do it. And if you want to set up, please, a virtual Red Kettle, because that really is our future. That's how we're going to sail our ship from now on. We can do that for you as well. Just contact the Metro Atlanta Salvation Army. We can help you instantly set up a Red Kettle and also give you the resources to help promote it. Sample emails to send to your friends, sample blurbs to put on your Facebook page or Instagram, where you don't have to reinvent the wheel as to how to ask people to to donate. We'll help you with that. All we need is your willingness and your effort.
Yeah. So we'll have all the links listed down below, like always. So if you feel extra charged this year, whether to give back your time or even to make sure that you keep change in your pocket this holiday season would be great. But also take the initiative. Maybe you want to start a virtual Red Kettle this year because it's what we're moving forward.
Yeah. Help us help other people. That's what we say.
Perfect way to end this. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and I hope you guys have a great holiday season. Bye.
Merry Christmas.